and diabetes, things that we all know.
Good day, folks. Thank you for joining us here at Your Health. On today's program, we want to talk about curcumin, the yellow pigment extracted from the spice turmeric. This stuff is amazing. The many health attributes are profound, and you need to know more about it because it's a powerful tool that you can use to help your family attain better health. Curcumin's our topic for today, but first, let's go to our news. Let's see what's happening in the health world. Vitamin D, the amino acid glutamine, and better medical care could reduce death rates in trauma centers. Researchers from Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta wanted to know if treating trauma patients with vitamin D, glutamine, and evidence-based medical therapies could help serious trauma patients improve their chances of survival. The researchers compared the treatment outcomes of over 6,000 patients admitted to Grady Memorial Hospital's Level 1 Trauma Center. About one-half of the trauma patients received standard of care therapy, while the other half received vitamin D, glutamine, and therapeutic measures based on the best evidence available at the time. They found those who received advanced therapies were at 62% reduced risk of dying. The study was published by Global Journal of Medical and Clinical Case Reports. Providing complete holistic care to trauma patients dramatically reduces their risk of death. Now, this is a remarkable study conducted by Dr. Leslie Ray Matthews and his team of diligent physicians at Morehouse School of Medicine. Dr. Matthews is a trauma surgeon, and he is known as a champion of vitamin D therapy for the seriously injured. He has been on this program, and he sent this study on to me so that we may all learn more about the amazing health-promoting attributes of holistic care and vitamin D. Now, some details about this study. What the researchers did to get such remarkable results was, first, they addressed the top 10 reasons why doctors and hospitals are sued for medical malpractice. It is estimated some 100,000 patients die every year from medical errors, and another 1.5 million are injured. Correcting these mistakes is critical to good outcomes. Next, they also took an earnest look at the most current scientific evidence and included the most effective therapies for those with massive trauma. And by the way, many of these effective therapies were nutrition-based. This inclusive, holistic approach, complete with proper nutrition, is now called evidence-based medical care. And of course, part of this evidence-based medical care was the administration of high-dose vitamin D, typically 50,000 international units a day, along with the amino acid glutamine. Now, what happened when they took this approach? The death rate for seriously injured patients dropped from 10.7% to 4.1%, a relative death rate decline of 62%. Just think of the suffering that could be avoided and the cost saving if this holistic approach was embraced on a national level. You are what your grandmother ate. Researchers from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine compared the health, nutrition, and generational effects of times of abundance and relative scarcity in rural Gambia, Africa. They found the nutritional intake of mothers had a detectable effect on their children and their grandchildren. Mothers who received poor nutrition had babies and even grandbabies smaller than those who received proper nutrition. Fathers who were malnourished had children and grandchildren that were smaller at 2 years of age. The study was published by FASEB Journal. Related research from the Max Planck Institute may explain why malnourishment of mother affects multiple generations. Scientists found environmental influences such as nutrition and toxin exposure, along with disease burden, affects our genetic expression through epigenetic influences that may persist for generations to come. This study was published by the journal Science. Well, isn't this amazing? Now, I think we're all familiar with the saying, you are what you eat. And our first study helps us to realize that not only are we what we eat, but our children and our grandchildren are what we eat. Now, this study took advantage of a natural phenomena that occurs in the West African country Gambia. In rural Gambia, every year brings a time of plenty and a time of very little due to weather changes. The researchers compared the overall health and well-being of children conceived during famine and compared their health parameters with children born during times of plenty. But they did not stop there. The researchers also evaluated the next generation, finding grandmother's perinatal exposure to nutrients, toxins, and disease not only affects her children, but her grandchildren as well. In our second study from the world-renowned Max Planck Institute in Germany explains how nutrition and other environmental factors influences future generations. It does it through epigenetic mechanisms. Epigenetic influences are controlled by histones, a protein coating around DNA that either covers and quiets DNA or gene expression, or opens and allows a gene to express itself. If the gene is one of wellness, well, we want that to be expressed. But if it is a gene of disease, we want it to be unexpressed or quiet. This is how grandmother's daily life affects her grandchildren, even if she never meets them in person. Isn't that amazing? And they figured that all out. It just astounds me. Well, today on Your Health, we'd like to discuss curcumin, the yellow pigment extracted from the spice turmeric. Stay tuned to learn more. Is your life out of balance? It may be. The average American consumes far too many omega-6s and not enough omega-3s. This creates an imbalance.
So what can we do to get back in balance? We can eat a healthy diet.
And most of us need to supplement with omega-3 rich fish oil. Fish oil contains omega-3s with DHA and EPA, fatty acids that promote good brain and heart health. So reduce omega-6 in your nutritional plan and boost omega-3 to get back in balance.
To help you do that, BioInnovations offers two products, the Fish Oil Complex and Omega 369, both formulated for your health and well-being. So how do you choose? For highest levels of DHA and EPA, choose the Fish Oil Complex. For a balanced formula, choose the 369. Give us a call at 888-442-1828 or go online at bioinnovations.net. Check out the AutoShip program for additional savings.
I'm Dr. Richard Becker for Your Health at a Glance. More and more people suffer from asthma. One cause is obvious. The world is a polluted place, and the air we breathe is not always healthy. But other causes of asthma aren't as obvious. Recent research connects a poor quality, high sugar diet and the frequent use of antibiotics to higher rates of asthma and cases of asthma that are tougher to treat. A fast food diet does not meet our nutritional needs. Plus, the indiscriminate use of antibiotics can seriously disturb the delicate balance of healthy microbes in our intestinal tract. So switch to a garden fresh diet that calms and prevents asthma. Eat fruit-like veggies such as tomatoes, cucumbers, and eggplant. Eat yogurt, ginger, turmeric, and take fish oil. Nature holds the answer, but it's up to us to make healthy choices. For Your Health at a Glance, I'm Dr. Richard Becker.
Are you one of the 62 million Americans suffering from gastrointestinal problems? Do you struggle with other chronic conditions? That's why we offer Dr. Becker's Bionutrient Probiotics.
After years of research, we developed a revolutionary probiotic formula with GastroDefense technology. This system protects the good bacteria from stomach acid so the probiotics reach the intestines where they go to work. Additionally, we use live count technology to prolong the shelf life of the probiotics, so there's no need for refrigeration.
Dr. Becker's Bionutrient Probiotics is a powerful combination and one of the most effective formulas available today. And we offer a children's chewable formula too, both at prices you can afford. Order online at bioinnovations.net or call 888-442-1828 and ask about the AutoShip program for additional savings. Welcome back, everyone, and I hope everything is wonderful in your corner of the world today. Well, we have a great show planned today. We're going to be talking about an amazing, powerful antioxidant, curcumin. You know, every now and again, something comes along in the natural world that really has the potential to make a difference in your health, and this is one of those. So, Richard, curcumin, which comes from the plant turmeric,
Yes.
this is just really great information. And you know what is exciting about this? I'm seeing that turmeric products are showing up in the marketplace in forms of tea, added with different recipes in prepared foods, which is really great.
It is. It's a very good thing. The turmeric is a common ingredient in curry spices. And most Americans don't have the palate for curry. They don't really like it. But I want to help you to understand that turmeric is almost tasteless. It really doesn't provide much flavor in the curry compound. So you could use turmeric alone as a spice and not have a very strong curry flavor at all. And so it's really good to see that people are embracing this knowledge, because as you'll see from our discussion today, turmeric and its yellow extracted pigment, curcumin, is a powerful health promoting agent. Curcumin it's actually a group of molecules, curcuminoids. And it's extracted from the turmeric, which is the ground rhizome of the turmeric plant. It's related to ginger. In fact, the rhizome looks a lot like ginger until you cut it open and you see, oh, it's bright orange, as opposed to the yellow look of ginger. Turmeric is a dry powder. It's used in cooking. It's the ground powder. It's used to make mustard, give it its bright yellow color. It's also used as a coloring agent in margarines and various butters and cheeses, and of course as a spice. And many people around the world use it as a medicinal food. Curcumin is the active yellow pigment, and it is one of many curcuminoids. And the best way to use the curcumin is the symphony of curcuminoids. Nature provides multiple molecules that are similar to curcumin, and that's really the essence, one of the key features of the highly active preparations. They include all of those different molecules. In India, where turmeric is a common food, colon cancer and Alzheimer's disease rates are about 1/4 of what they are in the West. Scientists have taken note. Now, there are many reasons for this disparity of Alzheimer's disease, cancer, heart disease from America and other Western countries in India, but curcumin use is a very major part of that reason. In review of the scientific properties of curcumin and the curcuminoids, they have anti-cancer, anti-tumor properties, powerful antioxidant properties, anti-arthritic, anti-amyloid, that's the process of Alzheimer's disease, it helps to protect from that, anti-ischemia, like heart attack or stroke effect, anti-inflammatory, analgesic properties, liver protective, it's a powerful antiviral, antibacterial, antiseptic in general. It even has properties against malaria. It is anti-atherosclerotic, the plaques that form in arteries. It's an antiplatelet, keeps your blood flowing well. It is a phytoestrogen and a chelator of heavy metals and toxins. But it is best known as a powerful antioxidant that counters virtually all types of free radicals. Now, what do we know about curcumin? I tell you, folks, I've been following the science on curcumin for, about 10 years now, 10, 12 years, and the growth of knowledge is explosive. It is mushrooming. We have extensive research now. It is useful for all parts of the body. It includes its antioxidant potential and more. We have at least 10,000 scientific studies that mention curcumin. If you were to go to, say, Google Scholar and just search curcumin, you would have well over 215,000 articles that would pop up, scientific writings. If you would look curcumin double-blind placebo-controlled, you would have about 16,000 articles. This is the worldwide literature. Now, many of those articles just mention curcumin, but many of them are specific to the investigation of the properties of curcumin. We've had over 4,000 new entries in 1 year alone. Last time we did this show, it was 1,500, 1,500 new ones. This last year, 4,000 new entries. So the interest in curcumin is explosive. And I would hate to see you not take advantage of this great scientific knowledge. What we learn when we begin to immerse ourselves in the study of curcumin is curcumin works through 4 basic arms. It's a potent antioxidant through 4 basic mechanisms. One, it regulates DNA function. It actually influences your genetic code. Curcumin upregulates proteins that control DNA-directed production of detoxification and antioxidant enzymes. What this means is when you ingest curcumin, it turns on the systems in your body that naturally, natively, the code that God gave you, it turns that on to detoxify your body. So it works with you. It also works as a molecular antioxidant. Even though curcumin is a fat-soluble compound, it is still effective antioxidant in water-soluble cytoplasm. In our body, circular, we're water-based, basically. But even though it's a fat-soluble substance, it's still effective even at remarkably small doses. And much has been made about, well, you don't absorb that stuff, so it doesn't work. If that were true, if it didn't work, we'd never observe the cultural differences in health where people take these curcumin. And the double-blind studies wouldn't show any benefit either. So even remarkably small amounts that get into our system has an effect. But it doesn't stop there. Not only is it a molecular antioxidant, but it targets the thioreduction system. This is a fundamental protein-based oxidative reduction system that it is absolutely necessary for life. In animal studies, in single-cell organisms, and organisms that multiply, the zygote stage, an embryo, a zygote at that stage, would only get past, it wouldn't get past 8 cells if you knock out the thioreduction. It's fundamental to life. Without it, you don't live. It's impossible to live. And curcumin targets that system and makes it work more efficiently. It improves superoxide dismutase and glutathione while decreasing malondialdehyde. This is another native antioxidant pathway that we all have in our bodies, but it helps them work more effectively, turns them on more efficiently. Now, when this happens in the body, when you take a curcumin, what type of effect does it have? Let's talk about cancer. Cancer seems to be on everybody's mind, and for good reason. Our cancer rates, thank goodness, they're coming down a little bit, but we still have far too much cancer in the world. We need better treatments. Curcumin inhibits cancer growth by at least 20 different mechanisms. Can you believe that? 20 different mechanisms. This is all based in good science. Curcumin prevents cancer by promoting DNA repair. It stimulates cell signaling so the cell can right itself. A cancerous cell a cell that's going to turn to cancer is a ship at sea that's floundering. And curcumin turns on the corrective mechanisms that turns on the bilge pump, as it were, and it helps to correct the cell function. It modulates cell cycles, and it does this through epigenetic influences. Curcumin inhibits cancer development. The first was prevention. This, cancer is starting to take root. Curcumin inhibits cancer development at all 6 stages of growth. This is the transformation of a normal cell into an abnormal cell, the initiation of the cancerous process, it inhibits that, the promotion. Cancer is like a contagion almost. It starts to promote other cells into the cancer. It inhibits that. The invasion into normal tissues. It inhibits that process. The angiogenesis of the tumor, that's the development of blood vessels that supply nourishment to the tumor cells. It inhibits that. And the metastasis. All 6 stages of cancer growth, curcumin inhibits. Isn't that amazing? The anti-angiogenesis stage, there are at least 14 known mechanisms by which cancer inhibits it. It also initiates apoptosis by at least 10 different mechanisms. Now, this is a critical point. It mildly addresses these 20, 30, 40 different ways of inhibiting cancer, and it does it mildly so we don't get side effects. Cancer chemotherapy agents, drugs, are powerful inhibitors, and that sends messages to normal processes, inhibits normal processes, so we get side effects. That's the essence to side effect-free therapies. Mild, gentle inhibition. When you add it all up, it's quite strong. When we return, let's talk about the specific types of cancers that curcumin has been shown to help. We'll be right back. Can you lower your risk of disease? The answer is yes. One way is by including fruit in your diet. Fruit contains valuable nutrients that can reduce the risk of heart disease, stroke, and even some cancers.
We've searched the world and found 4 fruits we believe are among the best. Noni from Polynesia, acai from the Amazon, and 2 new ones, goji and mangosteen.
These 4 juices each have amazing properties that make them great additions to your nutritional plan. If you're a diabetic or have chronic pain, these juices will help you feel better and have more energy. Plus, they help with digestion.
Now you can experience the health-promoting benefits of all 4 in one convenient package we call the Fruits of the World 4-Pack. And remember, it's 50% off by the case. Give us a call at 888-442-1828 or go online at bioinnovations.net.
I'm Dr. Becker, and this is Your Health at a Glance. Are you one of the millions of Americans who are at risk for heart problems? If your diet is like the average American's, you're getting far more sodium than your body needs, and this may create serious problems for your heart. A new study from the Netherlands showed that a diet high in salt not only increases blood pressure to dangerous levels, it also causes damage to your blood vessels. To avoid these problems, you need to avoid foods that are high in salt, such as preserved and prepared foods like frozen dinners, canned soups and other canned foods, cured meats such as lunch meat, hot dogs, bacon and sausage, condiments and sauces such as soy sauce, teriyaki sauce, and spaghetti sauce, and snack foods such as salted nuts, pretzels, and chips. Eat fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh meats, poultry, fish, and other salt-free alternatives. As you decrease your intake of salt, your desire for salty foods will eventually be reduced. For Your Health at a Glance, I'm Dr. Becker. There are thousands of fungal species, and at least 200 of them have been found to cause human diseases.
Fungal infections are common, so what can we do to protect ourselves?
One solution is oregano, a natural alternative. Oregano fights problems created by fungus and yeast overgrowth, and it improves many other health conditions.
At BioInnovations, we offer oregano in gel caps and liquid extract.
Yeast and fungal disorders can improve.
So take charge of your health by choosing a natural alternative such as oregano gel caps or oil of oregano liquid extract. Give us a call at 888-442-1828 or go online at bioinnovations.net. Check out our AutoShip program for additional savings. We're back, everyone. If you're just joining us, we're having a great discussion today on the powerful antioxidant curcumin. This one is just amazing. There's nothing else to say about it, Richard, but it's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
It really, really is. So we were talking about cancers. This is really big.
Yes.
How,
Yes.
you know, not that many things in nature can really have a difference in cancer either, and this is one that does.
Yes, it does. And we have so much research on it now. It can be intimidating trying to start to learn about curcumin because there's so much to know. But we know now from good studies that curcumin improves the response to many traditional cancer drugs and chemoctherapy and radiation. It reduces the side effects and makes it more effective. To date, we have evidence that the carcinomas improve, sarcomas, lymphomas, and leukemias. And that, along with melanoma and skin cancers, that's pretty much the whole ball of wax in cancer treatment. But let's be specific. Neuroblastomas have been studied. Head and neck tumors, very difficult head and neck tumors, tongue and oral cavity tumors, cancers. esophageal cancers, breast cancers, ovary, liver, and biliary tract, very difficult cancers to treat. Pancreatic cancer, probably the toughest of all. Colorectal cancers, prostate cancers, multiple myeloma, obesity-related cancers, that's primarily in the intestinal tract, and metastasis from solid tumors. And if you go on the internet and search out curcumin cancer success stories, you will find some remarkable stories of people who feel very strongly that curcumin helped them win their battle with cancer. Now, I want to make it very clear, the Food and Drug Administration has not approved curcumin or turmeric for the treatment of any disease whatsoever, none. And you're never going to see that, because it's a natural agent. No one can profit exclusively from its use in cancer, so nobody's going to spend $1 billion to prove its effect in that regard. Does that make sense? So you're never going to see that. It's not going to happen. But it can be used as a medicinal food, a dietary supplement, as a seasoning, a spice in your cooking to help you through the difficult challenges that come up in life. Now, how does curcumin, turmeric, help people maintain a healthy brain? We have a lot of information on this. It acts as an anti-inflammatory, a toxin remover, and a free radical scavenger. This lessens inflammation in the brain. Now, most people, they think of inflammation of I have strep throat and my throat is inflamed. And yes, it hurts, and you're very well aware of it. And that's absolutely true. That's inflammation. But the type of inflammation we're talking about now is very subtle. It's slow, it's systemic, and over months and years it adds up to great damage to our brain and other organs. Curcumin calms that inflammation. The neurodegenerative diseases, I'm talking about Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, ALS, they cause inflammation in varying parts of the brain. Depending on where the inflammation is, we label it as Alzheimer's. A different part of the brain, it's Parkinson's, and so on. This is the characteristic of the neurodegenerative diseases. They're all caused by inflammation. Curcumin calms that type of inflammation. Inflammation of the brain is due to the immune cells, the microglia of the brain, and they trying to fight off toxins. Like Alzheimer's, aluminum may trigger the inflammation of the brain. Well, curcumin steps in, calms that inflammation, chelates out the aluminum. It helps to lower that inflammatory mechanism that leads to Alzheimer's. Dr. Blaylock, neurosurgeon extraordinaire, a wonderful man, writes in one of his books, this was in an article he wrote for Surgical Neurologic Intern, that's a journal. Curcumin has shown itself to be the king of anti-inflammatory substances, equal to the most powerful medicines. It is a powerful antioxidant, inhibits lipid peroxidation and chelator of iron and toxic heavy metals. Curcumin lowers inflammation in the brain by at least 18 different mechanisms. It doesn't just inhibit the COX enzymes, 18 different mechanisms, and they know those. Those are added up from research. And it reduces amyloid formation in the brain by 8 different mechanisms. That's the amyloid deposits, the hallmark feature of Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases. People who consume a lot of turmeric in their daily life, they have 1/4 the rate of Alzheimer's disease. Again, there's other reasons, but that's a major part of it. Recent human studies shows that curcumin reduces the amyloid plaques of Alzheimer's disease. So a person could have Alzheimer's, diagnosed Alzheimer's, start curcumin, and 1 year, 2 years later, they will have fewer plaques. This has been studied, repeated multiple times now. Now, I would strongly recommend you do a complete holistic program for anyone suffering from early dementia as soon as possible. And this is what we've learned from the recent research, is that if we catch people with cognitive decline early, many of them, I can't promise all, but many we can stall in that early stage. Some will even get better. That's the closest thing we have to a cure for dementia at this time. But it does work in many, many people, and it's worth every effort, and curcumin should be part of that process. Now, if we combine vitamin D with curcumin, the results are even better. Even better. Vitamin D with curcumin, and this has been studied. Now, this is my own formula, but I want to share it with you for brain protection. And this will work best if we do this Start at 30 years of age, 40 years of 50. What we do in middle age has now been proven to have a profound effect on what our health status is in our senior years. So that time from 40 to 65 is really everything for senior health. What's that program, as it were? Magnesium, curcumin, vitamin D, fish oil, and the B vitamins. I want to repeat that because this is important. Be sure your plan includes this. Magnesium supplementation, curcumin, vitamin D, fish oil, and the B vitamins. And of course, I would exercise regularly. I would stay socially engaged. I would take on mental challenges so we keep the gray cells active. This is how you reduce your risk of dementia, and you can do it dramatically. It doesn't stop there. In the minute before the break, curcumin improves the circulation in the brain. Blood flow is everything in good health. It initiates tissue repair. This goes on and on for benefits of the brain. It acts as a powerful antioxidant. If you have a moment of ischemia in the brain, you'll have less damage. In other words, if there's a little clot that goes to the brain, that area will suffer less damage if you're on curcumin on a regular basis. If you add a little magnesium to that with the curcumin, it's even better still. It lowers the oxidative stress in the brain. It binds up heavy metals such as iron or mercury and takes that out of the brain. It increases glutathione in the brain. It lowers the free radicals in the brain, and they know how it works. And it provides, here's one of the most important, it provides more energy to the brain. 158% increased energy levels in the brain. This leads to a good mood, less depression in the brain, all from curcumin. Isn't that amazing? There's more when we return on curcumin. Every day, about 200 million Americans do not get enough of a key essential mineral.
That mineral is magnesium. The typical American diet does not supply enough.
And magnesium is so important. It protects bones and helps more than 300 different enzymes in the human body perform efficiently.
That's why BioInnovations offers chelated magnesium capsules for oral use and topical magnesium gel to be applied to the skin. That's 2 forms of magnesium to meet your daily needs.
Scientific evidence points to chelation as the best method of vitamin and mineral formulation.
So call 888-442-1828 or go online at bioinnovations.net to place your order. Ask about the AutoShip program for additional savings.
Because chances are you are one of the 200 million Americans who need more magnesium every day.
I'm Cindy Becker for Your Health at a Glance. Are you looking for a healthy replacement for sodas? For thousands of years, the Far East has enjoyed the many health benefits of green tea. Now the Western world has embraced this potent antioxidant for its many health benefits as both a drink and supplement. Green tea has been thoroughly researched. It's been shown to improve bone density and immunity, as well as levels of cholesterol, blood sugar, and blood pressure. Research has also shown it to decrease inflammation and one's risk of cardiovascular disease and many forms of cancer. One recent study even found that people who drink 5 or more cups a day were 33% less likely to develop conditions that cause disability. For health, it is everyone's cup of tea. For Your Health at a Glance, I'm Cindy Becker.
Have you heard about the health-promoting power of medicinal mushrooms? These remarkable mushrooms include maitake, shiitake, reishi, and ABM. The medicinal mushrooms contain beta-glucans, compounds that promote healthy immune function while helping to coordinate multiple body systems.
BioInnovations brings you Dr. Becker's Bionutrients Mushroom Complex with maitake, shiitake, reishi, and ABM in one convenient product.
Our mushroom complex features the safest and most powerful medicinal mushrooms available, providing natural support for a variety of health conditions.
BioInnovations is the affordable source that you can trust for all your vitamin and supplement needs. So give us a call at 888-442-1828 or order online at bioinnovations.net. Be sure to ask about the AutoShip program for additional savings.
We're back, everyone, learning about the amazing antioxidant curcumin. And to help you take advantage of this curcumin today, we have a great special for you. We have the Dr. Becker's Bionutrients Curcumin. We have this at buy one, get one free. That's today only, so don't miss it. It's a great way to take advantage of this special antioxidant. So, Richard, there's so much material to cover.
And we're just scratching the
We're just
surface.
scratching the surface.
We
But
are.
the heart.
Yes.
So it actually has vascular effects too.
You know, isn't this something we've learned? If an agent helps the brain, it's going to help the heart.
Right.
If it helps the kidneys, it's going to help the eyes. If it helps the liver, it's going to help the spleen, and on and on and on. And so what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's holistic, systemic health is what we're talking about. But let's be specific about curcumin and its benefit for the heart and the circulatory system. Curcumin lowers cholesterol, triglyceride levels, and it lowers triglyceride levels quite effectively. Pay attention. You can get those triglycerides down without using drugs. Curcumin will help you with that. It lowers the oxidative plaque formation in the blood vessels that will lead to the plaque that breaks loose, that obstructs the coronary artery, that leads to the heart attack, that leads to our demise. It calms that plaque down so it doesn't want to break loose. It helps to regress the plaque, and that's all been shown with good studies. It also helps to counter the endothelial dysfunction. Remember, the endothelial is the inner lining of the artery. It's the brain center of the artery. It controls the function of the artery, its diameter. And endothelial dysfunction is how the whole vascular disease starts. And one of its earliest signs is high blood pressure. That's the essence. That's the early sign of endothelial dysfunction, which may lead to cardiovascular disease and all the way up to death. We all know what heart attacks and strokes can do. Curcumin helps with that. It improves heart failure. It decreases reperfusion injury. Reperfusion occurs when we're doing a coronary artery bypass graft. You know, we go off the heart, the heart's not pumping anymore. You know, it's an involved thing. But this is an established mechanism to help us understand how we would deal and survive a heart attack or a stroke. What kind of damage? It reduces that damage in that type of an event. And we know how it works. It is a powerful anti-inflammatory in the cardiovascular tree because of its effect on human HMG B1. Now, I just say that because this is released by macrophages. You remember what a macrophage is. Macrophage is the Pac-Man cell of the immune system. When the macrophage encounters a toxin, a poison, a viral or more bacteria, an abnormal cell, anything abnormal, it is activated. And when the macrophage is activated, it activates the entire immune response. It's the cascade. And it initiates the inflammatory phase of the immune reaction in a large part, not the only way, but in a large part by this HMGB1. And guess what? Curcumin calms that inflammatory response. This is the inflammation you don't realize you have until you're deathly sick, fighting for your life in intensive care. This is what we want to calm down in the long term. Here's how effective it was. In Thailand, a major hospital in Thailand gave 4 grams of turmeric a day to their patients who were going in for a coronary artery bypass graft surgery. And they did this with hundreds of patients. 4 grams a day led to a 65% lower risk of heart attack for those who had the coronary artery bypass graft. Complications dropped like a stone. That is an amazing. Folks, as you go through this, do you ever wonder, what if a drug released by one of the major pharmaceuticals had all these attributes? Don't you think that drug would be on every major newscast, every newspaper? We'd all be talking about it, but not the lowly turmeric plant. No, this is God's patent, and He doesn't need the newsman to tell you about it. We have to figure that out. You know, it's part of His plan. But for your lack of knowledge shall you perish. You're familiar with that. It is our duty to learn more about health. We can't just leave this to doctors and pharmaceutical companies. They have their agenda, and it is not consistent with ours. Partly it is, yes, but they are most interested in their welfare. That just makes sense. All of us who've lived more than a few years know that we have to take care of ourselves. And this applies to health matters, particularly to health matters. So that's why we take the effort to learn more about these natural agents, because nobody's going to do it for us. Am I all wet on this? Tell me. I need feedback, because this is the reason for my existence, is to help you people come to know a better way. And to love my beautiful wife, because she's worth it. Okay? That's the other reason. And to praise God and to worship Him. So I go off on these tangents. I apologize. But curcumin is amazing, and you need to know more about it. What about diabetes? Multiple studies show that curcumin protects the liver by reducing fibrosis. When our liver gains fat, when it gains the hepatitis C virus, when it is invaded by toxins and pathogens and invading agents, it becomes inflamed. When the liver becomes inflamed, it becomes fibrotic or scars. We call that cirrhosis, and it is a death sentence. Cirrhosis is serious business. So we want to avoid that at all costs. Just obesity, gaining too much weight, eating too much sugar and fats can lead to scarring of the liver. Curcumin calms that whole process down, removes the toxins, it improves glucose metabolism, it improves the response, the damage to fructose. This has all been studied. It improves insulin resistance, the metabolic syndrome, the prelude to diabetes, it improves that. Decreases the inflammation, reduces the free radicals, and improves immunity of diabetes. You know, you would think I've been lying to you with all these benefits, but this is straight out of the literature. You can read it yourself. It's hard to understand, and I'm happy to do it for you. What else? It improves wound healing in diabetes, it improves foot ulcer healing, and when combined with vitamin D, it protects from wasting of muscles. It keeps your strength up in diabetes. All of that with curcumin. Now, we have a few other things, and we have a little time to talk about it, and we'll do that when we return.
Are you one of the 62 million Americans suffering from gastrointestinal problems? Do you struggle with other chronic conditions? That's why we offer Dr. Becker's Bionutrient Probiotics.
After years of research, we developed a revolutionary probiotic formula with GastroDefense technology. This system protects the good bacteria from stomach acid so the probiotics reach the intestines where they go to work. Additionally, we use live count technology to prolong the shelf life of the probiotics, so there's no need for refrigeration.
Dr. Becker's Bionutrient Probiotics people. But the Apostle Paul suggested that we maintain our grace in spite of the actions of others. Paul wrote, "If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." Paul acknowledged it may not be possible in all cases, but we should still do our best. Try to look at difficult people through Christ's eyes. Remember His sacrifice was for everyone, even those saints we know who challenge us. I'm Cindy Becker. This is our hope for you today.
For centuries, the herb astragalus has been a staple of traditional Chinese medicine. It's used to create a strong shield, protecting the immune system.
Astragalus is also used to support healthy heart and lung function.
There's even more. Astragalus helps to calm total body inflammation, a common cause of pain and chronic illness.
All of that without the use of medication.
That's right. Support your health the way nature intended with astragalus root.
BioInnovations brings you Dr. Becker's Bionutrients Astragalus Root Extract. BioInnovations is the affordable source that you can trust for all your vitamin and supplement needs. Give us a call at 888-442-1828 or order online at bioinnovations.net and see what astragalus can do for your health. That number once again is 888-442-1828. Call today.
We're back, everyone. Just a quick reminder, we have the special on curcumin. You don't want to miss this one. We have Dr. Becker's Bionutrients Curcumin. Buy one at the regular price, and you get a second bottle free. That's a great, great deal on that one.
Yes.
So, Richard, you've got some information about curcumin and its effect on the lungs.
Yes, you know, we've heard of cystic fibrosis and how it affects the lung, and we have such precious little to help cystic fibrosis patients, but they are able to prove that curcumin improves lung function in cystic fibrosis. It helps to thin the mucus secretion so they can clear them better. Also, multiple studies have shown curcumin, now get this, reverses cellular and structural damages caused by chronic asthma. Over time, one dose isn't going to do that. Don't take one pill and say, well, I can't feel a difference. That's not how nature works. Natural measures take longer to go to work. Over time, it is capable of turning the tide back on chronic asthma. That is amazing. If you've ever dealt with asthma patients, severe asthma, I'm not talking about a little wheeze, I'm talking about life-threatening asthma, to know we have something natural and cheap and easy, well, that is impressive. What about pain and inflammation? You live a life of pain, think of curcumin. Significant reduction in pain in a dose-related manner. The more you take, the better the relief. Equal to steroids and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Those are not my words, it's from the scientific literature. It blocks the pathway associated with the inflammation of tendinitis. Got chronic shoulder pain, maybe tennis elbow, any type of chronic tendinitis. Get on the curcumin. Over time, it's going to help it tremendously. Reduces autoimmune inflammation by at least 2 different pathways. It is better for rheumatoid arthritis than the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. The mainstay of therapy for rheumatoid arthritis. Curcumin works better. It's been proven in multiple studies. And you can take it with your medicines. There's no drug interactions we know of, and it's been used for thousands of years as curcumin, so that's not a problem. Curcumin relieves osteoarthritis pain by a unique mechanism distinct from any medicine. So it's complementary, it's in addition. 2 grams of curcumin equals 800 milligrams of ibuprofen. Many people can't take anti-inflammatories. They have a unique sensitivity in their kidneys, their liver, or their intestinal tract, and they just can't. It hurts too bad. It causes too much trouble. It's not worth the pain. Curcumin is a good alternative for you. What about the kidneys? Curcumin decreases kidney disease-associated inflammation and free radical and toxin load of the kidney. If you are a chronic kidney disease patient, curcumin can be initiated to reduce that inflammatory component of chronic kidney disease. Dr. Rich Schneider, nephrologist who's been on this program several times, have spoken of curcumin frequently. He loves it for chronic kidney disease patients. Intestinal tract. Curcumin helps to provide a stronger intestinal barrier to yeast, bacteria, and viruses, and it initiates healing of the intestinal lining, which is remarkable. It improves the intestinal barrier in inflammatory bowel disease, such as Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. This has been studied multiple times, and it improves the response to the standard of care medicines used for Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. It can be used together with better response. It improves the function of the intestines in irritable bowel syndrome. It reduces allergies and food sensitivities. All of this has been studied. Stimulates repair of the stomach prone to ulcers. You get a better, with less scarring now. The scar is a problem too in stomach ulcers. It improves that response. Combined with resveratrol, it modulates drug detox. Okay, if resveratrol from the grape with curcumin, it improves the body's ability to metabolize medicines. And medicine accumulation, medication toxicity is a big problem, especially in the elderly set, who may require 6, 8, 10, 12 medicines just to stay alive. It happens. Go to any nursing home, you'll see a patient like that. Get them on a little supplement program. It makes a difference, big difference. Here we have several other different general categories. Curcumin, effective against 14 different strains of Candida. Some 10 are known to torment humans. Curcumin gets those and others. Candida, a major player. I wish we had more time. What else? It improves antibiotic activity against Staph aureus. If you have this MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, and the drugs aren't working, include curcumin as a complement to those therapies. More people will get well when we do that. It helps to cut the biofilms. Let's say you had a new hip replacement surgery, and you have a prosthetic hip joint, but it gets infected and it's not getting better. You've been on antibiotics for 2 months, and the doctor says, we're going to have to take it out. You've got a biofilm developing. It's like a plastic deposit from the bacteria on the prosthetic hip. Guess what? Curcumin dissolves that biofilm. Get on higher dose curcumin. Do one more round of antibiotics, and I think you're going to see an improvement. You know, you want to do a whole complete holistic program with your vitamin D and your medicinal mushrooms and immune boosting properties, zinc. You know, you want to do the whole plan, but curcumin will help to dissolve those biofilms. What else? Arsenic, copper, cadmium. This has all been studied. Curcumin's a beautiful chelator of heavy metals, toxicity. It's really important. Endometriosis, curcumin, vitamin D together. Give 3 cycles, ladies. You're going to start getting better. And don't forget how you did it, because you're going to forget after, you know, when you're well, you forget how you got well. 2 years later, boy, I got the endometriosis back. What did I do to get better? Oh, yes, curcumin and vitamin D. COX-2 enzyme inhibition, on and on. Oh, we have so much more. But let's do this. Let's go to our break, and when we return, let's talk about how to take curcumin. How do you get the most out of this amazing substance when we return?
Do you believe that nature holds the answer to your health needs? Are you looking for a supplement that's simple and pure, yet really works?
If you're looking for nature's answer to better health, look to Aloha Noni Juice. It's pure and fresh, just like nature intended. Aloha Noni Juice is brought to you direct from the islands of Polynesia.
Aloha Noni Juice is 100% pure with no added sugar or sweet fruit fillers. It's the perfect addition to your low-sugar diet.
Aloha Noni Juice drinkers will tell you their vitality, energy, and sense of well-being have improved, along with relief from many painful conditions. Made by nature, proven by science, Aloha Noni Juice contains only nature's best.
And now you can enjoy the benefits of our new 100% certified organic Noni Juice.
Order online or call 888-442-1828 and let BioInnovations assist you in making the right choices to better health. Ask about the AutoShip program for additional savings.
I'm Dr. Richard Becker for Your Health at a Glance. Do you have a family history of a certain disease? Scientists are discovering that our genetic code plays a smaller role than previously believed. Only about 20% of disease is tied to our innate genetic code. So what determines the other 80%? The answer may lie in the emerging field of epigenetics. What is it? Epigenetics is a group of changing factors responsible for both how our genes are read and how they are then applied throughout the rest of the body. And this may explain why identical twins with identical genes can have different health problems. Researchers believe 2 of the main factors in epigenetics are nutrition and environmental exposure to toxins. So eat a healthy diet, reduce toxin exposure, and you may improve your own epigenetics. For Your Health at a Glance, I'm Dr. Richard Becker. Different people have different vitamin and mineral needs. That's why Dr. Becker's BioNutrients multiple vitamin and mineral powders come in 4 different blends.
That's right. When it comes to vitamins, no one formula is right for everyone. For those who don't get enough vegetables in their diet, there's the Organic Green Blend with 3 servings of vegetables in every tablespoon.
And for those looking for a boost of fruit and berry phytonutrients, there's the Berry Blend with 3 servings of fruit in every tablespoon.
And don't forget the Active Adult Blend with extra B vitamins, calcium, and added cofactors like ginkgo and CoQ10.
Plus, we've designed a multiple for those with allergies called the Low Allergy Rice Blend.
Whatever your unique needs are, BioNutrients has a multiple vitamin that's just right for you.
Give us a call at 888-442-1828 or order online at bioinnovations.net. Your Health is brought to you by BioInnovations, trusted products for your health and well-being.
We're back, everyone. Just a very quick reminder, we have that special today on curcumin. You buy one bottle at the regular price and you're going to get a second bottle free, so don't miss that one. So Richard, time is short and I know you have a little bit more, and we need to talk about how we take curcumin.
Yes. Well, much has been made about the poor bioavailability of curcumin. It is strictly a fat-soluble substance. And in the water-based milieu of our intestinal tract, some say, well, you don't absorb any of that. That's not true at all. You do, but you don't need to absorb a lot. Now, we can do certain things to increase that absorbability of curcumin. And what we have done is we take the rhizome, it's that root structure where we take this turmeric spice, and we squeeze the oil out of it. Okay? And we use that rhizome oil along with medium chain triglycerides and lecithin to create an environment that breaks up the fat-soluble curcumin into little micelles, and then it just slips right into the bloodstream. This creates an improved absorption by over 800% from just a chunk of turmeric that you might chew up and eat. So, in essence, one 250 milligram soft gel that's been specially prepared for maximum absorption equals 8 times that, or 2 grams. So with this in mind, it's relatively easy. 1, 2 soft gels, 2, 3 if you're fighting for your life with cancer or you're trying to pull back the time on Alzheimer's disease a little bit, 4 gel caps, soft gels a day. You're getting researched doses that have been proven to work. Another way to do turmeric is to dissolve the spice, the powder, cut up pieces of turmeric in oil like olive oil, have it dissolve in the olive oil, and then use it on foods or use it in sauteing vegetables. But I do want to warn you that turmeric, the curcumin pigment color, stains everything it touches. It's going to get everywhere. And a lot of people find that hard to deal with. But you have options. You have options. And with the 8 times the absorption, it's so easy to just... That's how you get into a pattern and a habit, and you do it for months and years on end. That's how we truly get our benefits in natural supplementation and holistic care. It's the long-term pattern, what we do. Now, one more thing about the preponderance of evidence. We have so much research now on turmeric, curcumin, that we're seeing, this is what's new, meta-analysis, or the review of the existing literature, and statistical experts put all this information together and they make firm conclusions about what we know. When we do this process, then we no longer, traditionally in science, need to cite our references and say who came to these conclusions. It's a preponderance. It's like we don't need to cite Newton anymore that gravity works. We're getting to that point with curcumin, and that is a landmark event for us scientists, people who have an interest in science. And we're getting to that point with curcumin, and that's the new knowledge now, is all these large review trials. We didn't have time to go into it, but we covered the concepts in all of it. 1 pill a day, 2 pills a day, 3 or 4 if you're really struggling, and you can start with a higher dose, and as you're doing better, back off. Start using turmeric as a spice. Saute your vegetables, and you're going to get the benefits of this amazing substance. Well, Cindy, I hope I did it justice today, because this is a superstar in the supplement world. Thank you for your kind attention. We will see you here tomorrow on Your Health. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Donald and Susan just paid off nearly $25,000 in credit card debt. How? They called Consolidated Credit, and with their debt management program, they cut their payments almost in half and worked with their creditors to reduce their average interest rate to around 5% so they could pay off all their debt faster. Think about it. When was the last time you were so happy you danced like this? You can get out of debt faster and start celebrating. In fact, for the past 30 years, we've helped hundreds of thousands of people who were struggling with debt. That's right, we're celebrating 30 years of helping people dance the debt-free dance because our program works. Call 800-481-8065 for a free consultation. 800-481-8065. Call Consolidated Credit today. That's 800-481-8065.
You may want to attend college.
But you have a full-time job and kids that need your full-time attention.
How can you possibly attend college?